Bill Carroll, once again for Zenny62 Media, and wrapping up the offensive side of my Saturday Superlatives. And obviously, there's a lot of kinks still being worked out, but still, despite that, there's some very strong performances, and there's some prospects, some of which I was aware of, some of which were new to me, and some, though I knew them, they were so improved it was almost like seeing a new player. And I'll start with Doug Brumfield, who had actually been good in pieces and starts, and of course, mainly due to injury, had not really established himself fully, and had a very special performance, which of course cements, I would imagine, his status as the guy, the number one quarterback at UNLV, despite the fact that Cameron Friel, who ended up playing for him due to injury while he was hurt last year, ended up winning the conference, Mountain West Conference Freshman of the Year, and then they had a four-star recruit come in from Tennessee, Harrison Bailey. He beat back both challenges, and like I said, showed he was the right choice. He went 21 of 25, four of his passes hit the ground, 356 yards and four touchdowns. So that's as many touchdowns as incompletions. Also had 10 yards rushing, despite the fact that he sat for much of the second half. If he keeps this up, he's going to set some records. And helping him to do so was Michigan State transfer Ricky White, who was a man amongst boys. He was fast. He ran good routes. He had great ability to catch the ball outside of his frame. Just a handful, and it shows you, I guess, just how deep they were at receiver at Michigan State that he couldn't get on the field consistently. But he has route deception. He's sudden. He has great command at the catch point. The transfer portal has given UNLV what appears to be their number one receiver this season. And I'm going to go to what for many people was the headline game, and that's obviously Nebraska versus Northwestern. Well, let me just start with Northwestern and on offense. So Ryan Helinski, who comes there by way of his time at South Carolina, recorded 313 yards passing, 27 of 38, and two touchdowns, and showed a lot of, just like Northwestern did, a lot of resilience. He's, I think, going to have a really, really good year this year. And then they have a zero nonsense running back named Evan Hull, who is, like a running back from another era, like the mid 70s. Ground out 119 yards on 22 carries. Now, those early yards, the first half or so, were really hard to come by, but he ground them out, and then, like I said, got a little easier in the second half as they started to wear down that that Nebraska defense. Also had 55 receiving yards, so he's not one-dimensional, which really running backs can't be anymore. And then I'm going to make mention of Alabama State. Their offense was kind of a mess at times, but despite the fact that they weren't the smoothest as a team, they have a very smooth freshman wide receiver, Isaiah Scott. 4 catches for 83 yards and a touchdown. And I saw a little bit of Isaac Bruce in him as I watched him. Austin Peay has one of my favorite young wide receivers, just a sophomore, in Dre Mccrae. He was terrific as a freshman, was freshman of the year in the conference on offense. And in this game, he had 6 receptions for 90 yards for 2 touchdowns, but then also added 17 yards rushing and 32 yards in return yardage. He's special and has a chance to really be something, like I said, he has a chance to really be something. Austin Reed, another guy that I noticed early in his career, he led his team at West Florida to a Division II national championship as just a redshirt freshman. After leading the Argos in a season for the ages there with 4,089 yards and 40 touchdowns, rushing for an additional 6 touchdowns, so 46 total touchdowns as a redshirt freshman, comes now to this very interesting Austin Peay team. And he's a strong-armed guy who's a good athlete. And he's getting better at seeing things sooner, which is my one real complaint about him earlier, is he tended to see things late and use his arm strength to sort of make up for it. 20 of 34 for 280 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, and 6 rushing yards on 2 carries. And then I have to mention David Davis, who is just a heck of a prospect, I think. Red letter day, right? And a guy that, once again, had to transfer to find his opportunity. 6 snags, 124 yards, 2 touchdowns, and once again a guy that, managed to, create space for himself even when coverage was near him, but also showed he could separate. Jacksonville State, of course, now read by Rich Rodriguez, as I mentioned earlier, and soon about to make the transition from what used to be 1AA FCS to FBS. I really like Anwar Lewis, their running back. Only had 12 carries, very quick, very explosive, but got 100 yards in those 12 carries. And then Sterling Galliban, very reliable receiver, good hands, good after the catch, 3 catches for 99 yards. Hawaii did not have a great day at the office, quite frankly. But Hawaii, Rainbow Warriors fans, I'm promising you, better days are coming. I think the recruitment is getting back on track. They're finally upgrading the facilities. And Timmy Chang, the legendary Timmy Chang, is there. He's going to do a great job of keeping some of your better athletes here at home. They're at home in Hawaii, not losing all of them to Pac-12 and Mountain West schools. And equally as important, I think just sort of the sense of community pride is going to grow again. But Jonah Panoke is a very polished, precise receiver. 7 catches for 101 yards, and I think as the team improves, he'll get an opportunity to show really more of what he can do. But he's a good player. And Nevada. Nevada is no longer the sort of high wire act that you saw obviously when they had Carson Strong, and they had Romeo Dubs, and they had Cole Turner. Now they're going to go back to sort of the ground and pound days, and Toa Tuoa is once again no frills, the kind of guy that runs into and through sometimes some dark places as a running back, but has quickness and power. 109 yards on 19 carries, and he's going to be basically the spark plug that helps to drive the engine of that offense. Houston, North Carolina had a really, 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 really impressive performance. They're going to be better than I think a lot of people think. I think they might be the 3rd or 4th best team in the ACC. I will not be surprised if they win 8 or 9 games. And they have a true legacy in Drake Maye. Now, I remember, because I'm old, his father, Mark Maye, there, and then no relation, Deems Maye was another guy that was a big sort of athletic quarterback who later moved to tight end and played, I think, 8 years in the league as a tight end. But Mark Maye was quarterback, his father. His brother, Luke Maye, of course, played basketball at a high level at Carolina. But let's talk about Drake. He has obviously huge expectations, and despite the outsized nature of them, he's fulfilling them. He is playing at a super high level already, and he's still young. Big arm, just like his dad, and like I said, but more athletic. He had 294 yards passing, 29 of 37, 5 touchdowns, also 55 yards on 4 carries. So that was maybe the most surprising thing to me, is just his pure athletic ability. It was, like I said, a pleasant surprise. Florida A&M obviously outmatched in that game. They would have had a difficult time with a full complement of players, but were missing 25 players. But despite all that, their quarterback, Jeremiah Moussa, really impressed me. He handled the pressure with aplomb and panache. Despite all that, so being overmatched in terms of talent and just, shorthanded, he showed poise and toughness, a really good arm, and threw some of those passes with touch and anticipation. I really am excited about him, and he deserves more attention than he's received so far. And I'm going to finish up with UTEP. Obviously, they have another guy who's really strong-armed, quarterback in Gavin Harbison, and he was up and down, and obviously he's going to make one of these superlatives sooner rather than later. I really like certain things about him. I just think he needs to tighten up. He has a tendency, once again, like a lot of strong-arm young quarterbacks, to try to get away with some things he should not try to get away with. But if he, picks up on when it's okay to realize a play is dead, if he realizes also a little more about touch and anticipation, he's going to be a terrific prospect. But right now, he's just a strong-armed, raw guy. But his receivers, not so raw. I really like Tyron Smith a great deal. I think he's a legitimate pro prospect. He's electric. I see a little bit of Jalen Darden in him. He's undersized, but very explosive. 7 catches, 127 yards, and a touchdown. And then his wingman, who's a little more grounded, or whatever term you want to use, is Ronaldo Flores. Much less spectacular, but rugged, effective, 8 catches for 120 yards, and I want to see more of him in the future as well. So those are my week 0 Saturday's superlatives, and that was the offense. See you in 1 week.